It's Dr. Katrin Bone. Today I'm talking about nagging. All parents do it. We try not to, but man, it is really hard not to do that. So I'm going to talk about nagging because it really does not help influence our behavior of our children the way we would like it to. And that's why it becomes so repetitive, because it doesn't work well. So what is a better way to influence your children's behavior without having to control it? I find that I nag the most when the behavior that my child is exhibiting is something that is a reflection of how I view myself as a parent or my self-worth, and that I feel like it's out of control and I need to get some control. And the way I get that control is by yelling or saying the same thing and over and over and over again. So what are ways to focus on our children's behavior in a better way to influence versus control? We actually have a new thing in the social media called influencers. They are people that companies or clothing lines have found that they wear their clothing and people want to buy it. And so the question is, how do you get your child to buy into some of these behaviors and habits and things? So without, having ultimate control over it. The way I start every parenting problem is I look to your future child's adult self and what's in the best interest of that person. And so, of course, it is not to have a nagging mom who over and over in their head, oh, how could you be so dumb that you left the light on, or whatever it is that we nag about. That voice in the head is probably not good for that 30-year-old. On the other hand, some of the behaviors we're talking about are habits that really are good. So if the habit is a habit that would be very helpful for the future, then it is one that we really need to focus on. How can we influence our child without having complete control? One thing is we need to stop making it about ourselves. Whenever our child gets the sense that we want something more than they want it, like potty training or a clean house right before company's coming over, everybody understands it's about us. It is not about them. This is about what we think about ourselves. So the first thing is, it is not about you. Your children's behavior is not a reflection of you. Your response to your children's behavior is a reflection of you, because that's under your control. So number one, it's not about you. And that helps quite a bit, because a lot of power struggle occurs when the child can sense this dilemma. The next is that you can focus on the problem itself and pick which one that's really creating the biggest struggle in your life right now. So let's say one problem that a lot of parents tell me about is that they have a hard time getting their child ready in the morning, getting dressed, getting the whole morning routine is a struggle, and they're late for school, and I don't know how to help this. And so I want you to pick that problem apart and problem solve with your child in a calm time, not around the morning, and try to come up with exactly what are the struggles here. Is the child going right to electronics when they wake up, so that they are having to stop something they like to do things they don't want to do? Are they rushed in the morning because they're so tired and they can't get up? And so we're trying to cram in too much things into a very little bit of time when we're not quite awake yet. Is it that your child doesn't like to be told what to do, and so you repetitively telling them actually makes it worse, and triggers, meltdowns? Or is it something as simple as they actually have ADHD and they can't process doing 3 or 4 things at the same time, and they need to just have one thing at a time. So by examining the problem, you and your child are going to be able to come up with mutually beneficial um, solutions to the problem that you're facing. So think about, we're going to do an example of getting getting up in the morning. Let's say the child comes up with, I don't want to stop watching my electronics. I get into my show or my game or whatever I'm doing, and you stop me right when I'm trying to do, and I'm going to be killed in my game. So if that's the case, you need to restructure. One of the ideas could be that you could restructure morning routine. And maybe electronics is something that you get in the afternoon after school is done as a relaxation, but morning time is not about electronics. And so they get up and, and focus on doing the things they need to do. Now, it could be a reward in the morning. It depends on how your child works. And if they came up with this, maybe if they did all the things they had to do to get ready, they would be allowed to watch TV for 15 minutes, or you can watch something in the car on the way to school if you're all ready and dressed and you have everything done. Another idea is making a checklist for kids. If they don't read, you can make it with little pictures, so they can either check them off on a laminated board, or make some kind of thing where you have to do the one thing and put it in the jar, and when you get all the balls over to the jar, each one says make your bed, brush your teeth, eat your breakfast, get dressed, and you put it over to the other one, and when that whole jar is full, you get to watch TV or get some kind of reward if you can do it before the time you need to do it. So you can set up whatever system you want, but if you think of a problem, think of the solutions with your child and have them, be a part of the decision making, they're going to buy into it a lot better than if you just tell them this is what we're going to do. The next thing is I want you to learn about this issue. So learn about habit formation. How do you build a habit? There's a lot of new scientific evidence that when you do a habit and there's a little bit of a dopamine reward after you do it, like good job, or you're awesome, or you get to watch TV, or you get to go on a phone for 10 minutes, or whatever it is, that little reward triggers in your brain to want to do that habit again. And that's how habits form. So think about learning about how to create habits, learning more information on difficult child behavior, watch TED Talks and podcasts and read books. Get as much information so that you understand and are knowledgeable in what you're trying to help teach your child. The next thing I want to make sure is that you're modeling good behavior. If the reason your child is late for school is because you drag yourself out of bed the last minute and you're on your phone and you suddenly go, oh my gosh, we gotta go. And then you start running around the house, packing up your stuff, and your child won't get off the television and blah, blah, blah. Okay, your behavior is actually what needs to change. And so when you model good behavior of how you organize yourself to get out of the house, one thing I have noticed with myself is those last 10 minutes get very quick to get all that ready and get out the door. So if you're like me, that, maybe that's actually the problem. So modeling good behavior that you are wanting your children to do is really a great step, because they will see that peaceful process of, checklists, or, being a little bit of ahead of time, giving yourself a few extra minutes if you're always rushed and fighting traffic and always late. It's funny, sometimes we're annoyed by the things that our children do. I was upset with one of my kids with a pile of clothing that they had dirty laundry that was piled up in their room that they hadn't put in the basket, and I was yelling at them to clean it up. And then I walked in my room and there was some clothes on the floor next to my bed that I hadn't put in the dirty laundry, and I thought, interesting. So a lot of times, things that we get unhappy with our children are because they are things that we don't like about ourselves. And so I've had to learn to change my habit of throwing my clothes next to my bed. I actually pick them up first thing in the morning, whatever I had taken off, and put it right into the laundry basket as a routine the first thing in the morning. And it has helped. So modeling good behavior. The last thing I want you to do is you need to give your child complete control of whether or not they do this or they don't do this. Ultimately, it is their control. They decide if they go along with your rule or your consequence or whatever. It's a tough one to let go of. But if you can give them control of it, it's better for them in the future. So, as always, you can always learn to be a better parent. If you liked the video, please hit the like button, and then don't forget to subscribe.